elderly volunteer in Harbin, China, inspires others with her commitment to Tzu Chi and to recycling despite freezing temperatures. And we'll learn about the all too common problem of gastro-esophageal reflux and learn what can be done to avoid it. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Duncan DeAith. Thank you for joining us. We begin today's program in China, where we follow up with an elderly volunteer from Harbin, Heilongjiang, who has found her way by doing recycling. Despite the freezing temperature in her hometown, she has inspired many people to join her in doing these good deeds. She has even set up a recycling point in front of her house, showing her commitment to protect the environment.
The temperature of Harbin keeps dropping, and it is as cold as 12 degrees Celsius below zero on this day. As it is extremely cold in the recycling point in Qianhong village, Wang Jinghua has offered her living room for the volunteers to do recycling. Putting the recyclables on the plastic sheet on the floor next to the heater, one has turned the place into a warm recycling venue.
When the weather is adverse, my family would say, "Sister, you are more than 60. Why do you have to do this when it is freezing?" I'd reply, "I'm just about 60. Look at our elderly recycling volunteer. She's more than 80 years old."
I am attracted by Tzu Chi's missions and the need to purify people's minds, harmonize society, and work for worlds free of disasters.
When Tzu Chi first started in Harbin, volunteers had to travel for 4 hours to reach Changchun to go through training. 83-year-old Wang Jinghua joined everyone, regardless of the long distance. Acting like a mother, Wang even gets up early to prepare breakfast for everyone.
Sometimes it is 20 degrees Celsius below zero in Harbin. The old mother gets up at 4 on Saturdays to prepare nutritious soup for everyone. Every time we come, we feel very warm and joyful.
每一次来了，我们大家都非常温暖，非常法喜。
Last year, Wang fulfilled her wish to turn the front part of her house into a recycling point. The place used to be her son's chicken farm. After setting up the recycling point, all the volunteers worked with one heart to protect the environment.
Tzu Chi Jordan chapter has been reaching out to Syrian children in Jordan who suffer from sickness. An 8-year-old boy, Mohammed, began suffering from a kidney problem 3 years ago. His father took him to many charity groups, but he was never able to receive treatment. Then, in late 2016, a Tzu Chi medical team went to the Zatari refugee camp in Jordan, and doctors discovered that the boy needed surgery immediately. Another child, 6-month-old Zaid, was born with deformed ankles that needed corrective procedures. Let's find out how Tzu Chi's medical mission was able to care for these two children.
The baby is crying because his foot hurts, and it also makes those adults feel for him. Luckily, he had a surgery when he was 3 months old. All the deformed ankles will make him walk on the backs of his feet forever. In January 2017, Syrian Dr. Mujed examined how Zed's feet were recovering.
And
We will make him wear a brace for a few more months to see how it goes.
many months to keep it normal.
The brace Zed is wearing is too small for him, so it always rubs against his skin. Dr. Mujed is preparing a new one for him. Many Syrian children are in urgent need of medical help. They either suffer from cryptorchidism, hernia, imperforate anus, or inflammation on the tonsil. But each surgery will cost hundreds of dollars or even more. Without the help of any charity group, these children cannot afford to have surgeries. 8-year-old Mohammed was once sick that only one of his kidneys had 2% of function left. For the past 3 years, his father had been taking him to many charity groups, but were rejected. Then in the end of 2016, Tima showed up at the Zatari refugee camp.
My son had been sick for 3 years, and I'd taken him to many hospitals, but they wouldn't operate on him because no charity group wanted to help us. Then Tzu Chi came to the refugee camp, and my kid had a surgery quickly. Otherwise, he would need dialysis forever.
The boy was discharged 3 days after the surgery. He recovered quite well, and it was a relief to everyone.
شكرا له يا رب يجزيه خير إن شاء الله يعني بالماستر
إن شاء الله شكرا.
In 2011, torrential rain hit Honduras, with Choluteca being the worst affected area. After an initial flood assessment, Tzu Chi will build 248 homes for residents affected by the disaster. The housing project, initiated by Tzu Chi in Honduras last June, has created hope for residents in a difficult time.
Denominamos aquí cochero.
We call them cocheros because they go to the mountains with their horses and trailers to cut trees. They cut them for firewood and bring them back to the city to sell it. This is how they try to make a living to feed their families.
I saw some of them were working at the landfill, trying to collect what they could from the garbage. I went to investigate and went to the landfill a few times. I met with them trying to understand their lives. They invited me to see their houses. They were living here under tarps.
With the money they make, they maintain their families, and in their families they don't just have one kid. No, they have 5 or 6.
They don't
have any hope of sending their kids to school because they don't have the resources to buy their books and school supplies. They don't have the resources to make breakfast for them, so instead of sending them to school, they take them to work with them.
I have 8 children, and this is my husband. They came here to start this project, building our future homes, because we are poor families with very limited resources.
The municipality of Choluteca gave us these 2 neighborhoods to build houses. All this land was donated to us, so we started to build the houses.
Es una larga historia.
It's a long story. I've known George for more than 8 years. Thanks to the Tzu Chi Foundation, these people can build their own houses. They're building their houses themselves. It's changing their mentality greatly.
Agradecida porque son cosas bendecidas.
I'm so thankful. This is such a blessing from God. God has touched the hearts of good people, and they came to help us, the poor. This help is sent by God to the community of the cocheros. I make my living by collecting bottles. If I don't eat. We rely on this to be able to eat.
Ese árbol que corta está afectando al medio ambiente. Nosotros lo sabemos.
These trees that they're cutting, that's affecting the planet. It doesn't only affect Choluteca in Honduras, it affects the entire world. They know what they're doing is bad, but they tell me, how else can I make a living? How can I feed my kids? How can I bring bread to the dinner table each day? We have no choice but to do that. But thanks to the foundation, this is going to change, and it's changing already.
My hope is that we can have a real Tzu Chi village here, and that from here, change will slowly spread to the whole department of Choluteca, and from there to the entire country, because this country needs a change.
How often do you think about your regular diet? Are you one of the increasing number of people who eat out every meal? If you maintain unhealthy eating habits for a long time, you may be at risk of colorectal cancer in the future. In our next piece, we will hear about some risk factors and get some advice on how best to avoid developing colorectal cancer. In the fast pace of modern city life, lots of people are eating on the go. The number of people who eat out for every meal is on the rise.
因为上班回去再煮就太晚了，对。
大概都买什么当晚餐？
都有饭跟面都有。
在学校附近的便当店这样，然后跟同学一起去吃。
This is Mr. Yao, who worked 10-hour days from his youth until his retirement. After retirement, he happened to have a health check, which led to a sudden diagnosis of stage 3 colorectal cancer.
I would eat whatever I had. If there was noodles, I'd have noodles. If it was rice, then rice. As for the cancer, I have no idea what brought it about.
This is 67-year-old Mr. Lin, who was accustomed to eating heavy fried foods regularly as part of his diet. When he started having serious stomach pains and went for a diagnosis, he was found to already have third-stage colorectal cancer.
想要改特别改食钱的物件。
较胖啦，较胖啦。海参类、甲肉类，伊这是嘛是拢有钱的啦。
Do you monitor your diet? Do you consider the portion size, salt, and oil content of the things you eat?
第一个年纪大嘛，那再来就是外食啊。
First of all, older people are more likely to eat out, and since fast food places are more likely to serve poor quality ingredients and add more chemicals, salt and oil, there will also be less fiber in those foods.
In addition to frequent constipation, if there is blood in your stool, it may be a serious warning sign. If you have diarrhea for 1 or 2 weeks, then you should see a physician.
那有些人会腹泻，是因为
Sometimes the tumor will be so large that it may partially plug the colon cavity, and only the fluid will be able to pass through. The harder stool will be backed up above the tumor.
According to recent statistics, in 1 year in Taiwan, over 14,000 people will suffer from colorectal cancer. It is the most prevalent form of cancer here, and it is statistically the third most deadly.
90% of colorectal cancer patients are over 50 years old. Colorectal cancer starts out as a buildup of viscous fluid and then very slowly develops into a polyp and finally into a tumor. This process can take 5 to 10 years.
In recent years, due to the increase of young people living off of processed and oily foods, the number of cancer patients under the age of 30 has begun to increase. According to Ministry of Health and Welfare data, the youngest case of colorectal cancer reported was an 8-year-old child.
Sometimes people have a hereditary condition that may naturally cause them to develop polyps. For people with that condition, it is easy for the polyps to develop into cancerous tumors.
The simplest way to avoid developing colorectal cancer is to avoid foods with high fat content and to eat more fiber and foods with antioxidants and vitamins.
高脂肪的食物，例如像一些肥肉。
High-fat foods such as pork or cream or bacon, since these have a lot of saturated animal fat, high in cholesterol, they will increase risk factors for developing colorectal cancer. Also consider the risk of too much red meat, barbecue dishes, or processed meat, since these can also be dangerous.
例如香肠、火腿这一些。
In the end, keeping a healthy, balanced diet with fruits and vegetables, along with plenty of exercise, is the best way to avoid colorectal cancer. In our next piece, we'll look at the very common problem of gastro-esophageal reflux. We'll learn about what causes it and then hear some perspective from a practitioner of Chinese medicine on how to treat it and prevent it. According to legend, one of the 4 great Chinese beauties, Xi Shi, was often racked by physical discomfort and would hold her hand to her chest and cry. Many people in the past often assumed she suffered from a heart problem. However, modern doctors assume that she likely suffered from gastro-esophageal reflux.
The most likely sign of gastro-esophageal reflux is feeling of spittle in the mouth, and maybe even a bitter taste may come up the throat. Some people may even have to cough, and there may be some chest pain as well, usually a tightness or a burning sensation. That's the heartburn that is associated with reflux of the esophagus.
Gastro-esophageal reflux is caused by the backflow of food or stomach acid back into the esophageal tract. According to Chinese medicine, this reflux can be divided into 2 categories, heat and deficient. Young people will suffer from the heat because they may be under pressure from life and work. Elderly people will tend to suffer from the latter. The deficient means that the body's muscles have become less efficient over time, and the food and fluid may naturally flow back through weakened sphincter muscles.
When dealing with the heat variety of gastro-esophageal reflux, Western anti-inflammatory medicines work very well, like the PPI, because they are directly target and decrease the acidity of the stomach acid. However, for the deficient variety of reflux, anti-inflammatory medicines may not have the desired result. In Chinese medicine, we recommend warm medicines to help improve the stomach's condition.
For gastro-esophageal reflux problems, Chinese medicine practitioners recommend some teas using honeysuckle, forsythia, and chrysanthemum. For elderly people dealing with deficient reflux problems, eating longan fruit or having ginger tea may help. Additionally, to suppress symptoms of gastro-esophageal reflux, you may try applying pressure to the 3 leg points, the inner wrist, or the key intestinal points of the abdomen.
胃的气在中医里面是主降的，要降下去才是正常的。但是呢，
In Chinese medicine, the flow of qi through the stomach is always downward, but we say that when there's a buildup in the liver, it can cause a backward flow through the stomach. This generally occurs in the middle of the night around 2 or 3, because that is when the liver is working most vigorously. So reflux is often worse at night because of the liver processing this buildup.
Research shows that the occurrence of gastro-esophageal reflux in East Asian countries is highest in Taiwan. Additionally, those who suffer from gastro-esophageal reflux also have a higher likelihood of stroke than average people. If you would like to reduce your chances of suffering from gastro-esophageal reflux, then it is suggested you eat less noodles, porridge, bread, and sweets in your regular diet. Before the popularity of mobile devices, the visually impaired relied on audiobooks for education. However, many of the digital voices which accompany such audio programs are flat and without feeling. Now, many are wondering if computers might be able to effectively imitate real voices. In our next report, we'll check out the latest advances in this area.
路易莎虽然展现出活泼外向的性格，她的内心却是比较不敢挑战跟做梦的。
This audio recording is sometimes lively, sometimes emotional, and it makes us listen more closely. This is a special audio magazine recording for the vision impaired. It is all done with human voices to achieve true pronunciation, but with technology taking off, computers will soon begin reading script.
第一名卖飞机不卖跑车名声94狂复兴航空22日召开临时董事会宣告解散公司。
Some popular websites don't need to find real people for voice recording as they just use a Google Translate function to service the voice, which is very flat, though this alternative type of delivery has actually found an audience.
今天会不会下雨？今天会下点雨。
Whether it's a smartphone that can talk or software, one can simply read aloud text or SMS messages. All of these advancements involve text-to-speech technology.
Text-to-speech technology software allows some of our messages to be translated from text and read aloud with the average consumer, being able to clearly understand the content of this message.
The same voice technology has long been used for audiobooks, but is now being taken to the next level 2.0.
我的妹妹莎拉，多年前的那一天，在我转身留她独自一人目送我离开后，莎拉不见了。
Listen to this audiobook, which is read digitally, and the pronunciation appears flat, and there's a little break between the words and not much feeling, as it's quite easy for people to become fatigued.
但是生性乐观的路易莎决定让她看见人生值得活下去的每一个美好面向。 那为了让威尔重新展开笑颜，路易莎使出浑身解数。
When changing to a human voice for this recording, one sees that the tone and cadence changes, with intonation going up and down like a roller coaster ride. They say this is the warmth of the voice, which in the past only humans could achieve.
I believe that in the end, computers won't be able to imitate human emotions and human sincerity. There's no way for computers to imitate this.
今年初吧，现在年尾了。你是1月对不对？我对不起，我错了，对不起，对不起。
Feelings are considered impossible to replicate, as this sound is totally unique, but science and technology are trying to solve this.
Please welcome to the stage, Zayu.
This internet video shows a well-known company's software presentation with U.S. comedian Jordan Peele seated as a special guest. Before the event, he recorded a witty message for the audience.
I jumped on the bed and I kissed my dogs and my wife in that order.
Later, the host takes out the word wife and replaces it with Jordan and replays the message, which has been magically manipulated.
And just type the word Jordan.
Ooh.
And here we go.
And I kissed Jordan and my dogs.
Taking another look, Jordan Peele was so shocked and amazed that he jumped up from his seat and ran off the stage. Whether it's tone or intonation, this was a perfect copy of his voice.
He may read a few hundred sentences, a few thousand sentences, but we finally came out with a model of his voice. It may be only 1 or 2 megabytes, and this very small amount of data is enough to produce the sound, to read aloud, and any text can be read aloud.
Although technology is gradually copying human nature, it still needs to mature as the real human voice still has many advantages.
将文字化成声音，化成情感。
Translate words into voices, into emotions for broadcast is something that is the most fascinating, as it requires interpretation of literature to bring it to a higher level.
提升到更高的这样的境界。
While some believe that one's voice can reveal the soul, technology has made many things possible, and there may come a day when automation is able to overcome this final hurdle and actually replicate emotion.
Tzu Chi Education and Recycling Station recently hosted an event to thank recycling volunteers' dedication over the past year. There were vegetarian dishes for participants, and volunteers also helped them turn recycled resources into props for future performances.
As you can see, these are all made of recycled items. This is a New Year get-together hosted by Tzu Chi Education and Recycling Station. 26 elderly people put on a dance performance as each prop is created by their own hands.
When someone sent their recycled soybean oil drums here, I thought they could be used in the dance performance, so I choreographed according to the items I saw.
Turning resources into gold and gold into love. Love is presented in every detail.
We organized these volunteers to turn the recycled items into drums. While they are playing drums, they can also exercise and use their brain to reduce the risk of degeneration and prevent them from aging so quickly.
The more I do, the healthier I will become. It's not good if we don't exercise. We must do something.
Tzu Chi volunteers use eco-friendly ways to thank these recycling volunteers for safeguarding our planet.
Volunteers in Myanmar recently hosted a Jingsi aphorism competition for students who attend a school at a local temple. The event was designed to teach the children wisdom and also inspire their creativity. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.